been fixing South Augusta,
right,
widening the streets. That's the plan for the influx.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They gentrifying the city. It looks obvious to me. It's like but they've been planning it for years.
right. So, and you know, this is we're seeing it every day. We're seeing it, you know, in every area, in every, you know, part of the city. We're seeing these, you know, high rises going up. We're seeing all of these, you know, they call it mid to low income areas, mid to low income housing facilities. They're tearing down Sunset and building one up. They tore down Underwood and building one up. You know, Brother Prestige, you were just saying all the projects going to be going after a while.
That's true. That's true. And the thing about it is, it's not just happening in Augusta. You know what I mean? This is almost like a nationwide thing as far as the low income areas. They're being rebuilt, restructured, and kicking the people that have been there. Like you said, the old gentleman, he had been there over 30 years.
30 years.
You know, so that's their home. That's all they know. And maybe all they can afford at that time. But they're pushing those people out. That has even happened in Columbia County. Like as far as where my grandfather's home used to be. They bought the home from him. He sold it. He owned the home, but he sold it because they said they weren't going to stretch Washington Road out up towards that Evans area. So it's something that they do. They give them chunk change, you know, give you $20,000 or something like that for your home that you've been working on for your whole life. And then they sell it and they still haven't stretched the road out, but they got plans to knock all that down also, even the country areas.
Right.
So,
and our kids need to see something else. You know, like I said, I remember growing up and, you know, being in Southside and then leaving Southside and going to our house, our apartment, wherever we live. But, you know, most of y'all don't know, Brother Prestige is my cousin, like blood cousin. Ain't no play cousin.
Yeah, my mama is his aunt.
Yeah, Aunt Diane's house was the biggest house I had ever seen. Whenever we went to Columbia County and we went behind the Stardust skating ring, we knew we was, you know, in the big side of town. Like when Martinez had 4 houses. Like we remember going to Aunt Diane's house. You couldn't walk, you couldn't talk because she was going to shut you up.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
That was the biggest house we knew. And think about a child going from Marion Homes or from Eastview or from Delta Manor, from, you know, River Glen. They don't see the other side of the city. They don't, you could take them to Columbia County and they think they're in a whole other world, in a whole other, whole other state. I think that we have to do a better job at, number one, investing in our communities, and then making sure that folks who live in these areas have the same hope, that have the same, the same pride about where they are than where someone else is. But we just can't write it off as, oh, that's the bottom. The bottom been like that for years. Drug infested, crime infested. I've refused to believe that about the bottom. I mean, first of all, why is it called the bottom?
Yeah,
that's
the mindset.
We call it the bottom.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it the bottom? Who said it's the bottom? Is it
bottom,
the
hood? They got a lot of different nicknames now.
Yeah.
The bottom, the hood. What else?
It's everything except home.
The ghetto.
Right.
The trap.
When we drive down, I'm happy. My window's down. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
I take other folks down there to just kind of see the city. They lock the doors. What are you afraid of? Yeah. And it's a mentality that people have had. And you can go into certain areas. You can go to certain streets in Delta Manor. Go behind Delta Manor. You can see how the area was mixed income. How you were working at King's Mill. You were working at plants living in Delta Manor. It wasn't someplace where you lived because you was just looking for, as they say, government assistance. No, it was mixed income because we couldn't afford to live anywhere else.
True.
So I think we've gotten to this point to where, there's just these stigmas placed on our communities. And even those in elected office accept the stigmas and they just roll with it.
I mean, but a lot of people won't call it what it is. It's a form of segregation. But now instead of based on race, it's based on income. And since there's a wealth gap, I mean, they just don't have to call it race.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They can just
classism.
It's classism. They
it's
can say
in the
it's
system. It's internalized.
Oh, yeah.
It's something internalized.
But it's accepted.
So think about it. What kind of, what young man out of college, can go and find a nice home, or even work a decent job and find a decent apartment by himself on a full-time job. Some adults are working full-time jobs and still can't afford to make ends meet.
True.
So first of all, the cost of living is high. We have a huge wealth gap. Income inequality.
Yes.
Jobs are low. Jobs are non-existent. And so quite naturally, these types of areas are going to remain because we can't afford to get out of it.
Well, I wonder, what about at some point? It seems like we would we have to have a bigger conversation about black business and black development since we have this gentrification.
Right.
To me, it seems like we'd be able to take advantage of it and say, okay, since we're all seem to be being pushed on one side of town, let's start buying property.
Right.
Let's get some black developers in here and,
Right.
and do our own, apartment complexes, duplexes, or whatnot on our side.
Yeah.
And then we have to get some of the folks that's in our communities out of our communities so that we can provide jobs for ourselves,
Right.
so to say. You know what I'm saying? We should see more black-owned gas stations.
Right.
We should have some more convenience stores instead of Family
Absolutely.
Dollar everywhere. But it's going to be on us to do it. If we wait for the city, it's never going to happen.
It's not
They,
gonna
they have
Yeah.
an agenda.
Right.
We got to have our own agenda.
See, now we talked about this yesterday a little bit with the president of the Black Chamber of Commerce, Ronique West, and she was talking about how, and I asked her about Black Wall Street and if we would ever get back to a Black Wall Street. So back in the day, Laney Walker was Black Wall Street.
Absolutely.
Insurance companies, schools, homes. I mean, my granddad lived on the 50-yard line of Laney. So civil rights activists, they all lived right there on Laney Walker Boulevard.
That's right.
You go to the boulevard now, and it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So, will we ever get back to that point? Will we ever get out of this point of not having developed homes in our area, having developed businesses in our area?
There's another dynamic that I want to bring up. When you talk about the tearing down of the projects and things like that. I for one, I grew up in South Augusta. You're talking Meadowbrook area, you're talking, Dean's Bridge and stuff like that, Bell Mead and all that, Terrace Manor. And now what we're seeing is because you have run those people out of the quote unquote bottom,
Right.
you're now giving them Section 8 vouchers to move out to South Augusta,
Right.
where, there's homeowners who have had their homes forever. And now what's going on is their property value is now being lowered. We just witnessed, a couple of days ago, right over in Meadowbrook, a couple of murders, two shootings.
It was one that was murdered and then the other one was
shot. And this is going on. And I was
front of
speaking
the
to,
shield.
and I was speaking to a woman at my job, and she was a customer, and she was like, I grew up in that area. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it got so bad. And this is what I explained to her. This is the dynamic.
I can tell you one thing that I've been saying for a couple of years that South Augusta needs, because I saw the gentrification coming, and I saw that movement that you're talking about. What is there on the south side of Augusta for teenagers to do? Because the kid that got killed was 15 years old.
Yeah.
What do we have to do?
He was directly related to the station.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Was there any? We don't have any.
You got Walmart.
No, but I'm saying like
Walmart gonna get
we need a boxing club on this side.
Something.
We need. You have to go to the other side of Gordon Highway to get to anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's nothing. Even the YMCA over here is just for people who want to work out. There's nothing here.
And
So if we have more programs, we have the opportunity.
Not even a boys and girls club.
No, it's not. They cut those programs out. So
Right.
when the kids get out of school, they have nothing to do. When there's nothing to do,
When
they're
there's
getting
idle
all
minds.
kinds of man.
It's definitely an
time.
issue. Out of mind, it's a devil's workshop. It's definitely an issue. And that goes back to, and again, I'm going to call on the city again because there's things that they can do to make South Augusta more friendly for businesses, more friendly for things that will attract kids, that'll, give kids an outlet to go into. But even outside the city, we have community organizations that can do the work, but just don't have the resources. And I think that goes back again to the conversation about being disadvantaged when it comes down to getting grants for after-school programs.
Absolutely.
For I work for an after-school program, and we have a club over there, but some parents still can't afford to go to it.
And who can afford these summer camps? Who can afford those summer camps? That's so expensive.
The community definitely has to stand up and make sure that every child, every family that has a need, those needs are addressed. There's no reason why, this is happening. You go to Meadowbrook right now, some certain areas of Meadowbrook, those houses are huge, well over $90,000 homes in Meadowbrook. There's a home in Meadowbrook I saw the other day when I was out canvassing, walking neighborhoods. Big old white house with a black gate, big old pool in the backyard. Like 17,
He owned about
18
9 houses in that area.
It's huge. It's beautiful. But, something we saw too, around the, late 80s and 90s when folks lived in Meadowbrook, they lived in McDuffie Woods, they lived in Barton Village. They left and went to Cumberland County.
But because a lot of them was military. That was I grew up in Butler Mountain.
Yeah.
So all that was like you said, that middle income military. We were the first ones to move on our street in '86 back there. But now it's HUD homes there. I don't have a problem with Section 8 being in the area. What I'm saying is we need to find ways to be productive for ourselves, because we can sit back and complain about the city officials and commissioners, and it seems like a lot of them have their own agendas too. Exactly. So we just need to.
I want to hit a good point though. Like he just said, it's about us doing it ourselves. I think one of the core things of all of this is the mentality. Like, what's the mindset of the people that's there? What's the mindset that they've been given? A lot of times people that be in those areas, they feel as if they're hopeless. And the mind controls pretty much all of this. So if we get this mindset rolling that we want more, we deserve more, and we're supposed to have more, we will do things differently. That's what I believe.
But how can we even get to that point in an area like Marion Homes, when you have trees covering houses, and your house might not be dilapidated, but the house next door to you, the house is boarded up, trees are everywhere, it's flooded out, it just looks horrible. How can you even have that sense of hope and that sense of pride without somebody coming down there and telling you you can have more, you can do more? But even if somebody come down there and tell you that, you still have to be able to believe it, even in the midst of looking around and seeing all of this dilapidation. How does a young man or a young woman who live down there even have that hope? Because some of my kids, again, that I have that live in Marion Homes, wonderful kids, come from wonderful families. But I took them to the movies to see Black Panther. They had never been past
to over there to Wheeler Road area.
Had never been past the Lady Walker Rasper Road area. What's this? Where we at? Is this still Augusta?
Wow.
Yes, it is still Augusta. And so it makes everything just a little bit more difficult. When we return, guys, we're going to continue our conversation with three powerful brothers in the community. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit about the Smithsonian. We got to touch a little bit about that. And then we're going to get into our conversation about Juneteenth. Don't go anywhere here on Something to Talk About Live with me, your host, Jordan Johnson.
Good deal.
All right.
Facebook Live.
I like your platform, brother.
Man,
I love it.
Anybody going to talk about this thing?
So you was going to go in?
I hope the mic's off. This is a different board, and I never ran this board before, so I'm like kind of shaky, nervous over here.
Good morning, Facebook family.
Good morning. Good morning.
We got Ricky Prestige. We got my man Bomani right here, right across the table. We got Jordan Johnson. It's something to talk about here in Augusta, Georgia. Share this feed right here. We're about to really go in. Share. Hit the likes, hit the love.
Stick with us.
Share it. And you people out there, hope to see you tonight at the Marvin Gaye tribute at Icons. It's going to be all the way live. Don't miss it.
We're talking about the issues that's plaguing our community. Housing issues, gentrification. We're talking about how folks in certain areas just don't have hope because of what it looks like. And we're talking about what we can do as a community to get involved. We can't rely on the government to do everything, because if we could, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So we have to get out and make it happen. It would have been happening.
We know what it is now. We're a new generation. We got to realize.
But really, I think it's inevitable. I mean, you can't really stop what's going to happen, what's natural, because, look at it. We're just a microcosm of the macrocosm, because if it's happened in Harlem, it's happened in Brooklyn, it's happened,
Have you seen the movie Gentrification by Jason Black?
Can it be something positive to gentrification, though? I think it's some positive to it in a certain way, too.
That's why I said we have the opportunity to take over our community. The way they push this out over here, if you go up Peach Orchard Road or go up Tobacco Road, it's Maybon Realty right here, just open property.
Yeah.
We can start by pooling our money together and buying those.
Then go down there in Old Town. Establish stuff.
Oh yeah, Harrisburg, all that stuff down there.
Old Town.
Some of them houses $3,000, but it's a matter of creating groups where one say, okay, you're a contractor, you're a real estate agent, you're a banker. Let's get together. I got a group of people. We got to put the resources together.
But there's advantages as far as like the actual gentrification. What's going on, say, for example, downtown? Because downtown for a long time has looked like the slums. Even Broad Street. And now you can start to see where the aesthetics are looking a little bit more clean. They're starting to clean up the area. You see the the guys driving by on the golf course, and they're
Right.
not going to let you just toss a cup off on the street and stuff like that. And so it makes our area more attractive and more appealing to larger businesses to come here, which then could create employment.
Right across that bridge, that's the blueprint for how they want to adjust it.
Right.
Look at the areas like that.
All right, we're back on Something to Talk About Live with me, your host, Jordan Johnson. We just had a great conversation about gentrification in our communities. Listen, we can wait for somebody to give us the answer, or we can get out there and get it done ourselves. And so I'm calling on community leaders. I'm calling on elected officials. I'm calling on the mayor. I'm calling on appointed leaders to let's really have a conversation about what really matters. I love the fact that we're talking about the James Brown Arena moving, but that don't put no money in my pocket. It don't feed my family. It doesn't make my city any different than what it already is. But what makes me sleep better at night is knowing that young folks have a better quality of life. And we can start by telling them that where they live can be better, and showing them that where they live can be better without displacing people, without raising rent, without causing all these negative extremes to take place. Okay. I want to take a quick break. The Director of Augusta's Housing and Community Development, Mr. Hawthorne Welcher Jr. Thank you for joining in, Mr. Welcher. Hawthorne Welcher is Director of the Housing and Community Development, has been doing some great things in the city. He's weighing in on the conversation. He said, I would love to speak to our community economic development efforts and thought processes that are transforming neighborhoods into thriving communities without nobody in caps being left behind. This is a black brother, great man. And listen, we're going to have an opportunity. We want you to come up to the show and talk about it, Mr. Welcher, because there's some real concerns about what's happening in our city. We know that the department is in good hands. We want to make sure that we can separate all the fact from the fiction. So we're going to have an opportunity for you to come on, call in if you like, 706-364-2572, and we're going to have a real conversation. All right, so before we go on to our next topic, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Smithsonian and how they have decided to honor a great woman, a great pioneer in journalism, Oprah Winfrey. Now, when I was younger, I used to love Oprah. I used to love Oprah and Ricky Lake. Anybody in my family know that I love Oprah and Ricky Lake. I was a little kid, and before I could go to school, I stayed with my grandma, and grandma would watch Ricky Lake, Maury Povich. She would watch Montel Williams, all back to back to back to back. And if I didn't get to see Oprah and Ricky, my day was ruined. I'm telling you, if I didn't get to see Oprah and Ricky, my day was ruined. I would walk around with a brush and interview people because I wanted to be a journalist like Oprah, and I wanted to have a talk show like Ricky. Because they were just cool, and I thought Montel Williams was just cool and everything. But that psychic used to have one that was kind of creepy. But when I was in high school, Oprah, she retired, and we were like, what's next? But my goal was to go to college and major in broadcast journalism, and that's exactly what I did. Now, I didn't finish because I ran out of money, so I didn't finish. I went back to school for political science, and then went to school for education. Shout out to Payne College. Homeland Alliance, wonderful school. However, the Smithsonian has decided to honor Oprah for the entire year up until June 2019 with an exhibit called Watching Oprah. It's going to take you through her time as a child all the way up to her owning her studio. She became the first black woman to own and produce her own talk show, and now she has her own network and the Smithsonian, it chronicles everything. She was born in 1954. She had a rough life and was fired from TV, was fired from radio, and told that she would never have a future in this field, but she proved it wrong. And so what I want you to do is I want you to make it your priority to go to the Smithsonian Museum. I know it's hard to get in. You can contact your congressman and see if your congressman can get you tickets, but don't get your hopes up because we don't know where our congressman is right now. So Mr. Allen, if you're listening, please call in. We have some questions for you. But call your congressman. Let's see if we can get some tickets to come in. But if not, they have free Wednesdays, walk-in Wednesdays. If you're in Washington, D.C., go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture and see the Watching Oprah exhibit. Okay, so my goal is to get there for my birthday in November. All right? So, again, call us, 706-364-2572. We're live here in the studio with 3 wonderful organizers, 3 wonderful gentlemen, guys who are doing mighty things in the community. And we wanted to make sure that they have an opportunity to come on and tell us a little bit about what they're doing. We just had a wonderful conversation about what's happening in our communities, in our homes, talking about gentrification, talking about the things that we face on an everyday basis. And we're going to kind of transition a little bit into an event that they're organizing, something that majority of us don't know about, Juneteenth. So we celebrate the 4th of July with pride. And, if you celebrate the 4th of July, I don't want you to feel bad about it. But we want to give you the facts about the 4th. And not only do we want to give you the facts about the 4th, we want to make sure that you know that we have our own Independence Day. So Juneteenth, brothers. What is Juneteenth? Anybody can just throw it out there. Tell us, what is Juneteenth?
I'm going to just throw this out here really quick. One of our band of brothers, he created a meme, Chavis Lawrence.
I've seen that.
That was just a one-liner. He said Juneteenth because on July 4th, 1776, we were working.
Right. Man.
True.
Now, that doesn't speak volumes. I don't know what does.
Yeah.
we
was out there. We was out there working.
So
without pay. Y'all doing fireworks.
I was
without pay.
Yeah. I was shocked when I first heard about the story. I was probably 19 or 20, didn't know nothing. I was, just like, man, 4th of July, yay, let's put on some red, white, and blue and go to a cookout and watch some fireworks. But I didn't really know that, we were still slaves. We were still, I knew we were slaves because the emancipation wasn't signed until 1363.
Mm-hmm.
But the backstory behind Juneteenth shocked the mess out of me because 2 years after we were free, we were still slaves.
True.
They really didn't know the last slaves were free. In 1865 is when they actually started. I guess, wasn't no cell phones back in the day. So by the time the word
cell phones,
you
no
could
phones.
just call down and be like, hey, y'all free.
Right.
So by the time the last slave was emancipated, I don't even like to say free because that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
But the last slave was emancipated was 1865. And from what I understand, in Texas, they have
Galveston,
huge
Texas. Yep.
celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
Galveston, Houston, I heard had big celebrations. And I see our people celebrate St. Patrick's Day without really knowing the meaning behind it.
Right.
4th of July,
Cinco de
Mayo.
With lots of
Everybody
pride.
knows
Lots of pride. I'm
Right.
talking about, but then when it comes to Juneteenth, it's like, what's that?
Right.
So it's like getting the word out, letting people know, hey, we have our own holiday we need to be proud of.
Right.
We need to be more proud of this than anything else.
For sure. Let me add to that real quick. Like he was saying, as far as like cell phones wasn't around or anything like that, but they did have newspapers. You know what I mean? They did have word of mouth. A lot of people knew what had happened. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm gonna hit on this on my speech. But Galveston, Texas, a lot of people were being moved. A lot of the slaves were being moved to Galveston, Texas, because the Confederate Army had that area on lock. So the Union soldiers couldn't even go in there without it possibly being a battle.
Right.
And Texas was kind of isolated at that point in history. So they had their own thing going on. So a lot of people probably knew, Paul Revere came and said the British is coming. Why nobody didn't come? Why nobody didn't come down here and say, hey, slavery over. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. They knew what they were doing. They would have stopped the money. And they were looking at it from another standpoint, like we our own area. We forget to leave.
Let me just kind of chime in and tell you one thing about it. I saw after the emancipation. And this is another thing that why I say emancipation and not necessarily free. Have you ever heard of a place called Devil's Punch Bowl, Mississippi?
Yes.
No, I've never heard of it.
Devil's Punch Bowl, Mississippi is a place where once the slaves were emancipated and they were freed, the population in one town in Mississippi went from like 10,000 to like 100,000 because they freed slaves. Thing is, the Union soldiers didn't know what to do with the slaves, so they put them in basically a concentration camp.
Okay.
Called Devil's Punch Bowl.
Devil's Punch Bowl.
And they let the people starve and die. The Union soldiers now, not the Confederacy.
Right.
Which kind of goes back, it was more of an economical plight than a let's just free slaves.
We can't employ all these people, so what can we do?
So they basically they killed them, they put them in a ditch, let them die, buried them there, and then fruit grows out of there. But nobody wants to eat the fruit because they know that the fertilizer comes from slaves.
Our ancestors there.
Right. So how
the juiciest, sweetest peaches and things like that.
Would you brothers think? Would you make the argument that in some cases we are still enslaved. Kanye West said that slavery was a choice for 400 years. I mean, and, you know, we knew what Kanye was trying to say. We knew that Kanye was talking about freedom.
I didn't know what Kanye was
I got it.
Let me make a sidebar and just say this is an unpopular opinion, but Kanye is always going to be my favorite artist. I don't care what dumb things he says. I always love Kanye West. You cannot make a better album than College Dropout. You can't do it better than St. Pablo. You can't do it better than Kanye. So here's the thing. I understood. Whole other topic. But Kanye was talking about freedom of thought. That's what he's always talking about: freedom of thought, freedom of expression. People try to tell you how to think. And like, you know, Brother Prestige was saying, it's all about what you think in your mind.
True.
Do you think that we are still in Galveston, Texas, in our mind? Are we still like 2 years behind the dial? What do you think is going on?
I honestly believe when he did make the statement, it just came out wrong. Because now slavery, which I say we're emancipated, now slavery is a choice.
Right.
I mean, you can just tell by the NFL.
Right.
They tell you gotta do this, or else you need to get out of the country and not play or be fined.
They call them $1 million slaves now.
Yeah, see, that is a form of slavery, but it's a choice.
Right. Well, what about, I mean, the prison system is a wonderful example of what
13th Amendment.
13th Amendment.
Right. Right. So with Juneteenth.
Yes. So
what's going on?
Right. So there's a group called Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers is a group that was formed a little bit over a year ago for the purpose of putting together the Juneteenth event. This year we are on our second annual Juneteenth event. It consists of Band of Brothers consists of 11 brothers. We got a couple of new members now, so maybe 13 members now. We provide services to our community with pride, and unselfishness. The bros get out here, and a lot of times you don't even see it. It's not advertised. It's not publicized. Right. Get out here, feed the homeless, feed the less fortunate. Get out here, interact with the children. There's mentoring programs and things like this that we're involved in. We're involved in the community heavily, 24/7, 365. But it all culminates with this big weekend of events. Now we have Juneteenth weekend. Right. And so it's next weekend. The 16th is what we call our Gala. This is a combination between the day party and the word gala. Gala. So we kind of like invented a word.
Don't we always invent things?
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Make sure nobody don't steal it.
Yeah, you're patenting that. Right. Wordsmiths we are. Yes, and the Gala is at the Doris Building. It's going to be between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m.
9:30.
We are selling tickets now. It's $20 in advance. We're featuring a live band, Versatility Project. DJ Swag is going to be on the ones and twos. We've got
shout out to the Versatility Project.
Right. Yep. We've got
heavy hors d'oeuvres.
Heavy hors d'oeuvres. And somebody said if you know anything about the Band of Brothers, it's going to be food. And it's going to be good food. So Bomani, he's one of our. Everybody serves a different role within the Band of Brothers, and Brother Bomani right here, he's one of our chefs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. You cater, Bomani?
I will.
All right. You got to cater in the
right. And to my left here is Brother Prestige, Ricky Leverett. He was one of our speakers last year. He did such a magnificent job speaking. We actually gave him a bigger platform this year. So he's going to be back on stage. Last year we did it at Pendleton King Park. But because of all the uncertainty and everything with the politics in that park, we actually moved them over to a whole nother subject. Right. So now we're at May Park, which is right there in the heart of Augusta, Georgia, down on 4th Street. That's going to be on that Sunday, the 17th. It's actually Father's Day. Yep. And so we're encouraging the families to come out, bring your children, bring your dads, bring your grills, bring your coolers, bring your lawn chairs, bring your umbrellas, because it's going to be kind of hot. But we're going to have a really good time. We got lots of live entertainment. We got fun for the kids, jumping beans and all that stuff there. Yeah. So
it's a family event.
What we're doing is we're trying to create our own celebration similar to that of the 4th of July. Just get out here and have a great time with your kinfolk.
Right. So all three of y'all are fathers, all three of your fathers, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So shout out to all of the fathers watching the show. Shout out to these amazing fathers. I know I can speak personally about my cousin being a great father. Brother Trav, wonderful father. His son is a big part of why I'm able to do my job the way I do my job. I gave him Employee of the Year. I don't know if he told you or not, but he was my Staff of the Year.
This was Canaan?
Yes. Yes.
Right, that's my oldest
That's
son,
your oldest
and my
son.
youngest son, Zion, he just graduated.
Wonderful
Son
boys.
named Zion, too?
Wonderful
My son
boys.
named Zion. I got
Yes,
Canaan
sir.
and Zion.
So shout out to all the fathers. Listen, when we return, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to continue our conversation about the community and what we can do to get more involved. We're going to talk more about Juneteenth and the celebration. And you can find out ways to get some more information on these things. So when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation on something to talk about live. Don't go anywhere.
Got it out there, Trav put the whole advertisement there.
This is what I do.
He's I was like, okay. Then I
said that. You took all the push off. Go ahead, take
plug it.
Put it in the capsule.
Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in.
For sure.
Sure.
We're going to play a little bit of this OG Bobby Brown.
Bobby Brown.
Oh, this ain't my prerogative. I thought it was
No.
That's a real song, though.
Okay, Jordan, while we're off the air, let me go in. Let me go in again right now. This is a great opportunity to go in on your boy.
Okay.
Okay, right.
Now this is a behind the scenes exclusive.
Can you agree with the cover that he chose to use on what's his name's album?
Absolutely not.
Pusha T's album.
It was despicable.
Despicable.
But that
I still ain't seen the
controversy
Who
started.
took the picture, though?
Controversy started.
Who took the picture?
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there at that point, but Bobby Brown, he did strike back.
Yeah.
Bobby Brown basically,
Bobby
had
like
some-
that.
he said Kanye needs to be slapped up, and I'm just the one to do it.
Yeah.
Don't mess about Bobby.
He realized that's
inconsiderate.
man.
How inconsiderate!
I think it was gross.
It's the bathroom in which Whitney Houston died with all the drug paraphernalia.
Is the actual bathroom? Or
That's
something?
bad. Now she's not in the picture, of course, but all the drugs and everything is all in the picture.
It's all like
spoons.
Kanye did that?
That's on
They
Pusha
say
T
that he
album.
bought the picture and put it on the cover of Pusha T's album, which I know he did.
He did.
He did.
Pusha T talked about it. Pusha T
But we're
said-
talking about it.
Pusha T talked
Yeah.
about it.
And that's what he
You know
wants.
he do it.
He's a narcissist.
Yeah.
He's
The best.
Pusha T said they actually had a photo shoot for a whole nother album cover that got approved, and Pusha T loved the album cover.
Kanye
And, in the 11th hour, Kanye says,
Swap it out. I think Kanye just on a stream of consciousness a lot of people may not understand.
Right.
And sometimes,
Right.
sometimes when you get to saying certain stuff, people will go against it because they're used to tradition.
Right.
But just because it's tradition don't always mean it's right.
Right.
And I think because a lot of things he's saying a lot of things about consciousness, the mindset of these people, and different things like that. But he's saying it, he can't get all his words out because he can't articulate what's going on in that mind.
I saw that in Kanye, but then it seems like he has the influence. He got the influence of some.
So you can't just
He got
say
the influence
stupid
that's not really of our mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think he struggles between, I know, because then ain't his family like, wasn't his family like pro-black part of the movement?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Educated,
See how he came
he had
in.
the knowledge, bro. But it seemed like somewhere he got tied up.
It's
with
the
someone
Kardashians.
that knew it.
It's the Kardashian curse. They got Bruce. They got Rob. It's the Kardashian curse, man.
It's Odom, Lamar,
The Lamar Odom. Who's this new guy? Who's the new dude that's caught up now? Remember the new guy caught
I
up?
don't keep up with him.
Has anybody seen Lamar Odom since then? I mean, bro.
We might go back on, guys. So we go back on. We're just gonna talk a little bit more about getting involved in the community. So you guys can freestyle, not freestyle, but just whatever kind of extra stuff you want to push out. We got about 9 minutes left on it.
Oh man, that was quick.
It's real quick.
Yeah, that hour ain't nothing.
Yeah.
All right, we're going. Bobby Brown, every little step. Y'all know y'all like Bobby Brown. I met Bobby Brown when he came to Augusta with New Edition. New Edition came to Augusta, and I went and got fresh for the concert. I mean, New Edition was like 30 years out when I went. Bobby Brown was standing outside of Beamies, him and Ralph Tresvant.
Outside of Beamies.
Yeah, standing outside of Beamies on Riddle Street, and I was able to talk to Ralph. He's just on the phone. I talked to him, took a picture with him. And Bobby was just on a whole other world. He was
He was
Bobby
really
Brown.
Bobby.
Yeah, he was
Just like the movie.
OG
Oh, they
Bobby
coming
Brown.
with the movie too.
And,
Bobby Brown movie.
man, Bobby was something else, and he went to take a picture with me. I guess I was blocking, but oh well, I don't know. But it's all good. Well, again, guys, we're back. Something to talk about live. We're having a conversation that that we should have had years ago about the state of our community, the state of our minds, the state of our boys, everything. So I have a question for you, for the organizers. These are again wonderful men. What do you feel when you read an article, when you see something on the news, and you heard that a young man has been killed, a young man has taken his life? When you heard something about police brutality, what comes to your mind? How do you deal with all of this everyday news about our boys being slaughtered by who knows what? What's your feelings about those?
If I can jump in first, I actually wrote a poem about it. So one of my favorite pieces, and a lot of other people's favorite piece, is called "Numb." One word, numb.
Yeah.
And what I'm speaking of is how they can, the effect that it can have on a person to actually see something repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. What's the word for that? And then you eventually don't care anymore. Desensitization. So it's actually a tactic that they use. After a while, you're so gung ho about the movement and everything, but then march after march after march, protest after protest after protest, and it continues to happen. Pretty soon you're like, turn that off, man. I don't want to see that no more. Yeah. And you really don't even care.
Right.
Well, no. At some point, though, it seems like the strategy that we have is not working. So marching, protesting, whining to government officials about police brutality or about, even violence in our own community. At some point, we need to change the strategy. The strategy is it's not going to be pretty for anyone involved, because diplomacy is always better, especially when it comes to, police brutality. But I mean,
it's got to be a grassroots, homegrown type of thing.
It's going to have to be
a door-to-door type of effort.
Yeah, the question is multi-layered. You got to really unpack that, because there's a lot that I could go on and on and on about what that was with.
And it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice that you have to make in order to even want to fight against it. Like, even us speaking this way is a sacrifice, because a lot of things can go behind trying to step up and stand up for your people, because it's an opposition that goes against that, and they'll do it by any means. We've seen plenty of assassinations in the 60s and 70s and even continue to the day. So a lot of people, when you talk about that, they don't really want to step into that world, because it's a sacrifice and it's a lot that comes with it. You lose family members, you lose people don't want to talk to you anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because our people go against the grain and they're scared of that in a way. But we can't be scared any longer, like, even if it is a sacrifice.
So if you think about the last couple of years of Dr. King's life, he spoke very candidly about
people
being
into a burning building.
Right.
I don't fear any man. That's what he said.
The last couple of days of his life, the last few years of his life, he said was the loneliest days of his life. And the nation was even sort of starting to turn from him, because he started to talk about how this is an economic issue, that this isn't a racial black versus white, niggas go to the back of the bus situation. This was an economic issue.
Yeah.
So how do we look at this from an economic standpoint, and then make grounds on actually delivering for the black community? We think when we say deliver for the black community, we talk about putting a park in a neighborhood or something. How do we look at this from an economic standpoint, or whatever kind of standpoint, and actually start saving our boys, giving our girls pride in themselves? I mean, what can we do?
We have to first acknowledge and understand, in my opinion, that we are at war on all fronts.
There we go.
It's no other way to put it. We're at war economically, we're at war psychologically, we're at war spiritually. Come on, man. We're at war on every front.
And I think the primary weapon, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, primary weapon that they're using is propaganda. You know, and we can talk about the music that's being pushed. You know, there's the
images.
I mean, the images. But you know, when I grew up, I kind of grew up through the '90s and stuff like that. And hip hop was like positive. Yeah. I am who I am and the way that I am because of the hip hop that I listen to.
Knowledge of self,
right? Yeah, knowledge of self.
Right.
You know,
Even if you go back before the hip hop, and you go back to the '70s, the music
Marvin Gaye,
right? Okay.
You know, right? And so all of a sudden now we have this transition, and it just kills me when people say the music that these people listen to won't have any effect on how they behave and act.
I don't agree with that notion.
It's just not logical.
Let me put a positive in this though, because you know I see a shift happening. I see a shift happening, a paradigm shift. That's why I call what I speak on paradigm mind align, because it's like a shift that's occurring. Like for instance, even with Juneteenth, a lot of people are more aware of that history. We could get more people to come out to that. You would have tried that 10 years ago, it probably wouldn't have worked. A lot more people are conscious. A lot more people know what's going on, and they feed us the negativity so much. We think that's the reality. But I can see with my own, because I was alone reading this stuff and being conscious. Now I see all kind of brothers and all kind of people that can relate with me, and that's going to be the foundation for the next generation. So my daughter, she's learning this stuff now. She knows who Massa Musa is now. So her self-confidence is going to be way up there. Like it's different. It's going to be a sacrifice. Like I said, we're a sacrificial generation in itself. And this could take 100 years or something like that. But we got the foundation right here.
Really, it started with the civil rights movement.
Yeah, you're right.
We're part of that.
And we trying to follow that same blueprint. And it has to be advanced. We're 2.0
There you go.
I'm gonna give y'all my theory on Generation X and Generation Y.
Go for it. You got
So before Generation X and Y, before us, you had baby boomers. Before baby boomers, you had the silent ones. That was the name of that generation. Then you had X and Y. That was the crack era. That was COINTELPRO era. You don't know what's going to happen. X and Y is a variable. That's the unknown. After Generation X and Y, you had centennials, millennials, and whatever's moving forward. These are generations of people that they had pegged out. The only one they did not have pegged out is the two variables, X and Y. You got crack in there. We don't know how the kids going to turn out. We got COINTELPRO. We don't know how those revolutionaries are going to turn out. And we are the only ones in my mind that can make a change. That's between the ages of born 1967, I believe, to 1995. You were born anywhere in that gap, you are X and Y, and you are the people that's going to make the difference. Everybody else, they got pegged out.
Well, listen, I hate the fact that we are out of time. We're going to have these brothers back in the studio again. We are literally out of time on the show. But we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to have them back next week. So, guys, how can they follow you on social media?
Bomani Sentwaki. Just check me out.
You got a talk show.
Yeah, and I do have a podcast that I'm bringing back. It's called Half Hour Black Power. It's a little rough around the edges, but we get to the subject. I definitely got to have you on the show.
Let's do it.
Straight from the hip. It's raw.
How can we follow you, Brother Trav?
Okay, you can follow me on Facebook, Trav God Brother Right, or Brother Trav God Brother. Lots of ways to follow me. Uprise Enterprise. Definitely listen to our show, Hidden Gems, comes on Sundays on roundhereradio.com, 2 to 4 p.m.
There we go. Brother Prestige, how can we follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook, Ricky Prestige Leverett Jr. I'm always speaking on this type of things, and I also go into metaphysics and the mental aspect of it and the spiritual aspect. And I don't think we really hit that much. But follow me, Ricky Prestige Leverett Jr. I'll add you.
There we go.
I'll put it out there.
Y'all know who's opening up that store? Y'all know who's opening up that store? Who's behind that?
Royalty. I think his name is Royalty.
Yes, we're going to have Royalty on. Well, listen, guys, thank y'all for tuning in to Something to Talk About live with me, your host, Jordan Johnson. We're going to do a 2-hour show coming up next season. But listen, thank y'all so much. We love you. We thank you. As always, this is 12:30 a.m. The Blaze, the People Station. You know, we're more than music. We're what radio should be. Until next week, God bless you.
That's it.
That was refreshing. Thank you guys for tuning in and sharing the video. Great day. Told you that. Y'all might not.
It ain't no but now. Great start to the great day.
I got paid.
So I will see you and my sister out there at the show.
Get up, get up. Anytime you want me on the show,
y'all gonna have to be regulars on the show.
I will.
I still got some tickets. I'm not going to sell them on the day, but I still got some tickets. I can talk on me right now.
Elsewhere, around the world, all the time. I have to, when I get back on after Juneteenth is over, I'm gonna get back on my show. I have to send it to you, let you hear.
Okay.
Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us, Facebook fam. It's Brother Trav, the God Brother here. It's going to be a beautiful day, man. This is an excellent start to an excellent day. Hang out with us all day, man. Still some tickets out there available. I got to pull down that Eventbrite site because they still selling them $15 tickets. If you beat me to taking that event page down, you can still get them for the $15 right now. But I'm getting ready to go take that down and like as soon as I can get in front of a computer. But I love y'all, man. I hope to see y'all at the Marvin Gaye tribute tonight at Icons. We're kicking it off at 8 o'clock, $20 at the door. We've got 2 bands in the house, the Versatility Project and also Fifth Chakra featuring Brother Trav and Sister Law. And we're debuting a film called Be Authentic with myself, Brother Trav, the God Brother, starring. Peace. Love y'all.
We'll get there.